Get that out of my house.
This is a very good way to mess good coffee up. I know, like, you guys are like, what in the world? I thought you said you were a real coffee snob.
And I was like, I would love decaf coffee right now. And she just whipped up some instant. And I think that at first I was a little bit like,
Are you serious right now? You
Did you
just served
just-
me instant. Like,
Not really.
I'm about to leave. Hey guys, welcome to the Coffee Life Unfiltered podcast. This is Lance, my beautiful wife Chelsea. We are here today to talk to you about probably the most nostalgic thing in the coffee world, and that is the Mr. Coffee coffee maker. You know, there's nothing like waking up in the morning and hearing this thing just dribble beautiful coffee
Gurgle.
into this glass cylinder with a burner under it. And, you know, your grandparents had one, your parents had one, you've probably got one too, even if you haven't used it in a while because you've been using your pour over or whatever. I'll just tell you, like, Chelsea got one of these, what, a month ago?
in February.
Okay, a few months ago. And first I was like, what are you doing with that in my house?
He was like, get that out of my house.
And then I realized that it had this cool feature on it that you could say brew later, and then you could put a timer on it, and it would have coffee ready for you, like when you woke up in the morning. So I could set my alarm for 7:15. I could put this going for 7:10, and by the time I rolled out of bed and got clothes on, I do this, and voila, I have a cup of coffee. So I'll just tell you, okay, they're starting to win me over with this stuff. But I'll just say also that you can't just throw coffee in this thing and make it taste good, okay? This is a very good way to mess good coffee up. So what we're going to talk about is how to make good coffee with one of these, because you might as well. You've got one already. Your grandparents have one. Your parents have one. When you go over to their house, you're going to have to use it. You know, when you're at the church,
Or you're at the Airbnb.
wherever, this is what you have, you know? So let's take a look at this. First of all, these don't work, okay?
They are really inaccurate.
These are not cups. This is...
I don't know what that is.
So this is
It's
not 4
not
cups.
anything.
That is not 6 cups. That is not 8 cups.
No,
so
we measured it.
Don't rely on that, okay? And the first thing you're going to need is to get yourself one of these. This is a normal, modern-day kitchen scale. It's digital. You turn it on. You put this sucker on there. You zero it out. And then you decide, how much coffee do I want to make? You get your water.
Good water,
Get
right?
your nice
Water is important.
filtered water with no fluoride or chlorine in it, and you fill that sucker up. Let's say we want to fill it up to the false 6-cup mark. We're looking at 900 grams of water.
Also, our pitcher is tea stained, so it's not
Just
brown
tea.
water.
Just
See,
tea.
it's coming out clear.
Just tea.
Just some tannins. Just some tannins in the pitcher.
Okay, so I'm weighing out 900 grams of
This
water.
is real life.
This is what we're going to do instead, though. I'm going to go ahead and put 1,000 in here.
1,000 grams.
1,000 grams.
Sounds like a band name.
1,000 grams of water, just to make this really easy. So I've got 1,000 grams of water going in. That is right around the 7-cup mark. The false 7-cup mark.
It does not.
Okay. I pour my 7 cups, 1,000 grams of water into the top. You want to weigh these out because it's really important that you get a good ratio to coffee to water. If you have too much water running over your coffee, then it's going to extract it more and more and more until it gets over extracted. Then you're going to be looking at bitter coffee. So, weigh out your water, make sure you have it right. If you have too little water and too much coffee, then you're not going to have enough water to extract your coffee well, and it'll end up tasting sour and unextracted. So, we're going to put our filter on here next. we're going to weigh out how much coffee. We're going to do some quick math. You can probably do it in your head. And we're going to do a 18-to-1 ratio with this particular coffee. This is from Oak Cliff. We're brewing it in the cafe right now. And we're doing it 18-to-1 in a pour over. So if we're using 1,000 grams, I'm going to divide that by 18. And it's going to give me 55.5 grams. So I'm going to weigh out 55.5 grams on here. The grind is really important too. You're gonna have to work on that. That's not something that I can really tell you because you may not have the same grinder as me. But I try to make it look like really coarse sand. That's what you're going for. You don't want it to be like so coarse that it looks more like fine gravel, but you're gonna want it to look more like sand that's really coarse in your hand. When you're dealing with a flat bottom paper filter, you want it a little bit coarser than you would in say your cone shaped filter. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And that's something that you kind of develop to look for after a while. So 55.5 grams, 56 grams, 55. There we go. All right. So we're going to pop that dude in there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to situate this right over the top of my grinds to make sure that it's not like running over the side. Another big deal with these machines is that you don't have a lot of room to put a ton of coffee in here. And this is another flaw of these, is that if you fill it up to the false 12 mark and you try to brew like a full gallon of coffee in one of these, or half gallon or 3/4 of a gallon or whatever that holds, you're going to run into issues because you're going to be trying to put like 100 grams of coffee in this little tiny filter, and it's going to overflow everywhere as your water's going through, and it's not going to turn out good. So try not to brew huge batches in these. You want to keep it around the 8, around the middle mark, maybe 3/4 if you want to go crazy. And everyone's a little different too. Like this one kind of has like a weird little shower head on it. We'll see if that actually works. But now that we've got the correct ratio, the correct grind, now we can make decent coffee with it. And it's not terrible. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're going to let that brew, do its thing. Let's say, maybe 5 minutes or so, it'll be done. In the meantime, I want to talk about another really cool, cheap coffee hack. And I'll say cheap. This actually is instant coffee. You can get really cheap instant coffee. I know, like, you guys are like, what in the world? I thought you said you were a real coffee snob, and you're not a good coffee snob anymore because you're using instant. Listen, guys, the instant market has come a long way. It's not just Nestle instant in a jar like Grandma had. It is like companies like Verve and Blue Bottle and Stumptown, Intelligentsia, like some of these huge, amazing coffee companies are coming up with really good instants now.
Yeah.
The process is way different than they used to use.
Well, instant is just freeze-dried. It's still coffee. It's just freeze-dried. And the freeze-dry movement is just taking off, too.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, freeze-dried candies, everything in here, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get good instant coffee. This is an example of some pretty good instant. This is a decaf, actually. So my kids like to make lattes and stuff at the house. So they can take this instant, they can whip up some espresso, then they can make a latte.
We actually got this because a friend, people offer us coffee when we go places, and we're usually like, no. But we were having some yummy dessert, and it was after dinner, and they were like, do you want just a little decaf coffee? And I was like, I would love decaf coffee right now. And she just whipped up some instant. And I think that at first I was a little bit like,
are you serious right now? You
Did you
served me instant.
Not really.
I'm about to leave. No, not really. But I was like, I love these people, so I'm going to give it a shot. And then I was like, this ain't bad.
Yeah, it's really good.
But, the instant, like I said, the instant market has come a long way. This particular recipe that we're going to show you of things to do with instant coffee, we're going to carry this at the new coffee shop, King Coffee. It's called Dalgona coffee. So if you need espresso at the house, you can use this as espresso. If you need just a quick cup of coffee, you can use this as well. Or if you need if you're cooking with it or something like that, you can use instant. Anything that you need concentrated coffee for. And the good part about instant is that you can actually make it more concentrated than even espresso, which you will need for this next recipe. So Dalgona coffee is something that they came up with in Korea just a few years ago. And it's actually like a whipped cream coffee. Like whipping cream can make whipped cream. Eggs can make like meringue, and you can whip those. And there's not a lot of other stuff that you can whip. Like typically, if you need to whip something, you'll add whipped cream to it and whip it, or you'll add like egg whites and whip that. But coffee actually has the chemical makeup to make a bubble and to hold it, which is really cool. But it has to be in super concentrated form to do that. So what we're doing here is in this cup, I filled this shot glass to 1 ounce of water. I filled this shot glass to 1 ounce of sugar. And then I filled it to 1 ounce of instant. And I'm adding all that to a cup. So 1 part, 1 part, 1 part. And then I'm just going to get this little mixer. And I'm going to whip this up. Whoa. It's going to splash everywhere until it gets thick. Okay, there we go. And it gets thick really fast. You notice how it starts to really keep bubbles? Whoa. Turn this on. I know how to use this, okay? There we go. So it takes a little while to get it like really, really thick and fluffy, but you can use like one of these little whisks like I got from Walmart, or you can use like a regular old like whisk attachment. But a lot of times you're doing this in like smaller batches because this stuff is really strong. This is another thing. It's like espresso. It's like really sweet espresso. But the cool part about it is you just pour a glass of milk and then you put this over the top of it.
Would you like me to get you a glass of milk?
Yeah, go get like 3 glasses of milk. We'll get one for Jared too. And this is decaf, and it's like, 7 o'clock or something, so it's not going to keep me up all night anymore than I'm already going to be. And the more you whip this, the thicker it will get, and the more it'll stand up. I like to whip it until it's kind of like forming little peaks. And our coffee's getting done there too. Check it out. So yeah, instant coffee is one of those things. It's nice to have in the cabinet because it's really versatile and you can use it for all kinds of stuff, and it's just quick. If you're wanting like a really good pour over, then I would say make a pour over, But if you're getting kind of lazy and you're kind of like, I just want a good cup of coffee right now, then check out these companies like Verve, and check out these companies like Blue Bottle and some of these bigger specialty coffee companies, because they're starting to carry really good instant coffees. And now it's getting so thick that my little hand blender can hardly whip it. Okay. Ooh, big cups of ice. Here we go. Okay. So now that that's whipped up, these little things are so much fun. I'm just going to rinse it off with the milk. There we go. Okay. So this stuff is like super thick. This is actually a little runny for Dalgona coffee. It should stand up like a whipped cream. That little whisk just was having some trouble keeping it. But we're just going to pour this over the top. I like to make this stuff with a hand blender. That's like the best way to do it.
Like an immersion blender.
An immersion blender with a whisk attachment on it. But you literally use this as espresso. But it goes on the top instead of the bottom, which is so much fun. And you actually don't have to put any sweetener in your drink either, because this has all the sugar that it needs as well. So you've got the sugar, you've got the super concentrated coffee, you've got the milk. So all the components in here are a latte, but when you drink it, you get that big dose of like that espresso with the sweet first, and then you wash it away with the milk.
I take it.
Oh, thanks. Got it? Here, Jared. Check it out. Okay, so in a sec, we'll try our coffee as well. But here we go. Yeah, that's incredible. You notice how it like, so take a sip and see what you think about it. This is a mustache killer, by the way.
I think I could get a mustache with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
So you get the big burst of espresso and the coffee and all the flavor, which I love, but then the balance of the milk just comes in and just mellows it out. So this is like a super fun drink to like give people at your house when they come over. It's something really easy to make. All you need is like instant coffee, sugar, and water, and you just whip it up. And like I said, usually it gets a lot thicker. Like you can like kind of stand it up on edge so it looks really beautiful as well. Really cool if you got a cafe. Super easy to make. Really cool if you're doing something just on the cheap at the house. So yeah, check that out. Dalgona coffee. That's something that's kind of brand new in the coffee scene. It's fun. And then we got our Mr. Coffee Maker here. Let's go get some cups and let's try it out.
I just love the smooth mouthfeel, but I also, I don't know, it's like you get that, it's not bitey, like in a bad way. You get that sharp espresso, and then that smooth, creamy milk washes it down. It's just a fun drink. When the kids drink it, it's fun. They all have little mustaches.
My kids absolutely love this.
Wow.
My kids are becoming little snobs of themselves.
I also like to just have a fun dessert at night that's just not full of like junk.
Yeah.
It's just simple ingredients and just something sweet after dinner. And I think it'd even be really delicious over warm milk.
Yeah. And you can do it over warm milk. You can make this over cold milk. Like, you can make it all kinds of ways. You can really put it over ice cream or whatever you want.
It's kind of like ice cream.
Yeah.
But it's not super sweet because the milk had no sugar in it, but it's enough sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, just a fun recipe. And check that out. It starts to, like, drip. Looks like kind of like dripping paint. So this is the black coffee from the Mr. Coffee Maker. And listen, you can figure one of these out real easy. All you need is a scale. And for every 1 gram of coffee that you use, you want to use around 18 grams of water. And so then you just do the math. You start with the water, figure out how much coffee you want to make, and then you add your coffee in according to that.
Yeah, and I would say that the coffees are all different. So if you have a bag of coffee and you brew it and it's not quite right, just tweak it. So maybe 18-1 doesn't work for your bag of coffee that you have.
Yeah.
But then you know from what Lance has taught you that if it is bitter, what do we need?
Then we need to add more coffee if it's bitter. I know that sounds backwards.
If it's sour, then what do we need?
You need to add less coffee so that the water can extract the coffee more. That's kind of how it works. So the more water to coffee, the more extraction you're going to get, the more you're going to balance that coffee out with bitterness. The less water that you put in, the more coffee, you're actually going to tip the scales in the sour direction, and it's going to try to balance that bitterness out with a little bit of sourness. What you're trying to do is get right in the middle. This coffee that we just made is like right on the money. I'm telling you, like, this tastes dang near close to a pour over, and it just came out of a Mr. Coffee.
If it's bitter, more coffee. If it's sour, more water. Okay? If you do that and you tweak it, maybe you need better coffee.
Yeah, maybe you just need better coffee, okay?
Might need better coffee.
But I would say that the first thing you need to start with is really good coffee. So find like a specialty coffee shop in your area that's known for good coffee. Find something that you like and get it ground according to this. So you want it a little coarser than, say, what you would do for a pour over. And then get your ratio right. Add good water, okay? If you're adding water out of the tap and your water comes from the city, a lot of times it's just going to taste bad.
Even some well water is kind of sulfury.
Yeah.
So really just we recommend filtered water.
And you can, and a really easy way to get filtered water if you don't have like one of those 5-gallon jugs or anything at the house is to just install a simple carbon filter under your sink and have a water tap. They're really cheap. You can go to a hardware store and just ask, I want to hook up a carbon filter and get the guy to walk you through it. Or probably look up a YouTube video on it. It's really simple.
This is really good.
It is really good because we weighed it out.
I'm never going to sleep tonight.
And we measured it correctly. So anyway, hey, that's what we got for you today. We just wanted to throw some easy stuff for at the house at you, stuff that you can that you can do at the house. It's just good quality stuff. Dalgona coffee too. That's just fun.
Look how pretty that cup is.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It looks like paint running down the side.
It's simple. It's fun. It's something that you can show to your guests, and it's cheap.
Yep. The Coffee Life, unfiltered. Thanks for checking us out. We will see you next time. Y'all have a good day.
This is Captain.